thanks everyone for coming today. My name is Theresa. Today I'll be presenting my ice climbing in Michigan, which is an accumulation of the last 4 years of my ice climbing. I'm relatively new to this compared to some climbers, but I have gathered a lot of information in my time doing this, and there's a lot you can do in Michigan, which a lot of people don't know about. I'll just wait for a second. We'll wait for a second. I'll make sure my phone's off too.
That's why phones get stepped on.
So the first question when I tell people that I do ice climbing, a lot of people in Michigan don't even know it's something you can do. I didn't know it was something you can do until a couple of years ago. But the first thing they ask is why, and a lot of people in Michigan, you're kind of two sides of the fence. Either you know about the outdoors, and in the wintertime you like to snowshoe, you like to ski, or you're the person who says, well, it's 72 degrees, that's too cold for me, I'm going in the house now and turning the heat on. So in Michigan, I go snowshoeing on lunch, and what's nice about that is if you're working, and I know a lot of us right now don't have to work in an office, it's nice that we can work from home. But if you're working from home in the winter, you can get some sunshine, so you get vitamin D, otherwise we're subject to getting that seasonal effectiveness disorder. And if it's a gorgeous sunny day in Michigan, you can go outside on lunch and get an hour in snowshoeing. You're going to burn 500 calories. Don't laugh, it's real.
So real.
So you get your sunshine in, which is getting your vitamin D in. It's going to improve you because a lot of times winter can feel like 10 months in Michigan. Another thing that I love to do is winter camp. So depending on where you're going, once you set up your winter camp and you've chopped your wood and you've got everything ready to go, if it's 25 degrees out, it feels like 80 degrees. It feels like you're in Miami because you have 3 layers on. You know, as long as there isn't some hazardous weather condition going on, even if it's snowing, once you get in your tent, it's 25 degrees in the tent, you're actually comfortable, you've got a 0-degree bag. What we normally do is we just take a Nalgene bottle, which is a plastic bottle, you heat up your hot water, you throw your hot water, and you throw that in your sleeping bag, so that warms it up. Or you do jumping jacks before bed. But usually by the time you've hiked out to your spot, and you've done all your cooking and you set up, so you can see, when you're doing stuff like this in the winter, you're working up a sweat anyway. So unless it's, -30, -60, you're actually pretty comfortable doing this type of stuff. Of course, it's better if you have friends doing it with you. So this is our outdoor adventure complaint chart. If it's snowing, if you're someone who loves the outdoors, you never complain, there's never a bad day. It's snowing, at least it's not raining, it's raining, but at least it's not cold and windy, that's what I just said. As long as it's not cold and windy, you can survive. It's cold and windy, well, at least it's not raining too. Well, it's cold, windy, raining, and snowing, but hey, we're not working. So, any day can be a good day outdoors if you have the right mindset. All right, so here's my next reason why I do things in the winter, and I think Carol would like this because she tends to ask about insects and snakes and stuff. There are no snakes when you're ice climbing. There are no ticks. There are no bears. There's no tarantulas.
Tarantulas?
And there's no mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
So when you're doing your winter camping, you're safe. I mean, other than making sure you've got your gear. If you've got your gear, you usually have a 10 essentials list. If you've got your 10 essentials and you're out in the woods in Michigan winter, you're pretty good as long as you don't get frostbite, you're good. You don't have to worry about any of these guys that come out in the summer. Another thing that kind of got me down this route, and I have a couple books up here too, these are some that I recommend. A lot of these movies are actually on Hulu, Amazon Prime, Netflix, so if you just type in climbing movies, there's some excellent climbing movies. So while this isn't ice climbing, there's some aspects of ice climbing in it. It could be mountaineering, but a lot of these mountaineering books, John Krakauer wrote a ton of great books, and then the Everest movie's based off his book. The mountaineering is going to be different from ice climbing, and we'll talk about that in a second. But it basically all started from mountaineering. So all this type of activity started with the Alps in Italy and Switzerland, and a lot of the explorers from England and France would want to go climb these huge mountains, and there was some aspect of ice climbing involved. Ice climbing at one point broke off and became its own thing. But you have these people who have been mountaineers for years, and you can learn some great life lessons from reading their books about survival. And then also these are two, the ledge and touching the void, where someone fell into a crevasse and got out. Everyone thought they had passed, and they got out and escaped. And Touching the Void is also a great movie. So these are things that kind of were in my mindset during the years that, oh, people do this kind of stuff. I don't really know why they do this kind of stuff, but they do it. But that kind of opened my mind to, why would I be outside in the winter on a mountain? Then National Parks Adventure came along in 2016, so if you're a member of the Henry Ford Greenfield Village, as a member now, you get free IMAX movies. So every single IMAX movie that they produce, and these a lot of these 50-minute IMAX movies are produced by McGillivray Films. They do like Dolphins, Outer Space 3D. They do a lot of the educational content. Well, this one was narrated by Robert Redford, and it features Conrad Anker and his kids, and they come up to the Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore, which I didn't know we had ice climbing in Michigan. So they come up and you can go into the ice caves, and I'll talk about that later too. That's something anybody can do. You don't have to be a climber to do that. You can take tours, you can go out on a snowmobile. Up in Munising, you can catch a ride, and they'll take you out and take you on tours. Now to do climbing, you have to have tools, but you can actually go in these caves where we call these chandeliers, and you can touch all these chandeliers. So Conrad Anker's out there climbing, and I saw that and I thought, well, that's pretty neat. So this was 2016. About a year later, my friend from a hiking group said, well, I'm going ice climbing today. And that's how, I said, what do you mean ice climbing? We'll get to that in a second too.
Well, the one picture of the one guy who's just dangling right there.
Yep.
Just dangling, look at he's dangling,
Yep.
yeah.
So
No.
you have your crampons. So you have your
Yeah, I looked at that.
two front points. If you're really good, you only have 1 point. I'm still a beginner, so I'm on 2 front points. But if you're really good, you have 1 point. You have your ice tool, you only need 1 of them. And you can, if you can put your tool in 1/4 inch of ice, you can hang like that. That's how it will hold you.
What's it, you don't take the snow cone machine out there, is that, you don't take that, do you? I just had to ask.
I wish so. We were gonna have some special slushies.
Oh,
so.
okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
actually,
Maybe like in your lunchbox or something, you know, I don't know.
yeah, wait till we get to the disco parties at the wall at night.
Nice choice too, the peanuts, the whole thing.
Exactly.
That's kinda cool, they need to make a comeback, you know?
They do.
Yeah.
Yes. So there are different types of climbing. I'm actually not a climber. I started with ice climbing. I have not been a rock climber. I don't do the indoor gym. I took 1 class through REI about climbing, but really it's 2 totally different things. Rock climbing, you use a rubber shoe, and you're doing more gymnastic type movements to use your hands and climb. Ice climbing is more about following math, where you're in a certain stance and you've got your tool. Now there are diversions from that, of course, but there's just a whole bunch of different types of climbing you can do. Mixed climbing is going to be where you're climbing on ice and then you hit some rock and you have to maneuver over the rock. There's sport, which was just in the Tokyo Olympics. It was for the first time they added sport with lead climbing and speed climbing in the Olympics. Alpine is going to be going up to a mountain, so that's a different type of snow. That's mostly precipitation. Bouldering is just going over rock with no ropes at all, so you just see a boulder and you just climb it. There's all kinds of competitions. There's one this weekend at my ice climbing facility in Fenton, which is for the World Cup. They're doing pre-qualifying there. There's dry tooling now too, so you actually take your ice tools They're a little bit different from an ice axe. You take your ice tools and you put them into these little handholds. It looks like a handhold like for rock climbing, but they have little holes and you have to put your tool in, you have to hook it in the right area, and again, you're like Spider-Man going up this wall. So they're also gonna have a dry tooling competition out this weekend. There's also trad climbing, which is where you're placing your own, they call them cams, so you're putting your own tools in while you're climbing the rock, then you take the tools out when you leave. So you're leaving no trace when you go up, you come back down, you don't hurt the rock at all. Ice climbing, and then I put top rope, meaning there's two ways to do ice climbing. You can lead climb with ice screws, meaning you're gonna place these as you're going up, and we'll look at those in a minute. Or you can rope into a tree and have rope there. You'll rope up to a tree and you can rappel in. So there's a couple ways of ice climbing. And then to get to your ice climbs, there's a lot in Michigan. You can ski out, you can snowmobile, you can backpack, you can snowshoe. If it's a really far off hike, some people will backpack out, winter camp, get up the next morning at 7 a.m., climb all day, come back to camp. And it could be -30 when you're doing that, so you really have to be prepared. Another note is that the American Alpine Club, that's a national organization. Once you join the American Alpine Club, there are group chapters. So we have a Detroit, Southeast Michigan chapter. So if you're looking for people to climb with, you join their community. Hey, who's going climbing this weekend? I want to go. Okay, let's link up. We'll meet here and we'll all take the same car and go climb. They also offer you $12,000 of rescue assistance. So if you are climbing somewhere and you break your leg and someone needs to come out to get you, they're going to cover your evacuation.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I won't get too into the weeds on this, that's why it's so tiny up there. I'm not gonna go through every little detail. But when you talk about the grades of ice, you can see here, this is gonna be overhanging ice,
Yeah.
and this is overhanging. So while I said you're gonna kind of usually follow a stance of like math, you've got 50% on this foot, 50% on that foot, and you've got your tools in front of you. That's not always the case, and sometimes you have to maneuver around objects. We call those sometimes cauliflowers that pop out, or you might have a lot of dangling, these are the chandeliers. But if it's overhanging, that's where we go to. We go up to a WI, which stands for water ice, and water ice means it's a waterfall. So it could even be what in the summertime, if you're hiking the pictured rocks and you see the tiniest seep of water, that could actually become something like this in the winter. By January, it could be that it accumulates so much that a seep becomes a climb now. So that might not be a waterfall in the summer. In the summer, you might see a big waterfall like that, and it turns into this. So when you look in your guidebook to say, could I climb this? A WI2 is going to be very easy to climb. Something like this where you're going up gradually, and if you need to take a break, you can stop here and rest, and you know you're not going anywhere. You can kind of catch your breath before you go up to the next. You can catch your breath here and keep going. This too, you're starting with a more narrow place to start here, so then we call this stemming, where you might need to put your body weight on 2 different pillars to keep going up. So that's going to be more technical. This is going to be your easy, and then when you get to the really tall climbs, or you have to go over objects, that's where you're going to get to the harder grades of ice. So we do have a grading scale to figure out, and because it's live and it's nature, it changes from year to year. It could be a WI5 one year, and next year it could be a 4 because it just didn't come in the same way. Yeah, go ahead.
Who goes out and like determines that information? Are there like rangers? Like,
I'm
is it
glad you
enough
asked.
officers?
So here we have the conditions
Oh, look at
report.
that. All right.
So what we
How
call,
often is that updated?
yep, so because of the glory of Facebook, so social media is also the worst thing in the world, it's the best thing in the world. You could either go and find all the negative things, or you can find positive things. So if you're gonna communicate what we call beta, we call it the beta, like what's the detail on the climb right now? So on social media, they'll say, okay, this is amphitheater, not in. They show a guy looking real sad because it's not in. It hasn't frozen over by, let's say, January 20th. But then they'll post, okay, but Bridalveil Falls is in. So if you're going up, and you're part of this climbing community, you either get it through your social media, or you might get it through group emails, or one group member might go up, or they might talk to a park ranger, or you go to the guide services. So this is a book that's published by Downwind Sports. Downwind Sports does guiding service and also gear rental. So when you go to their store in Munising up in the UP, they actually have a chalkboard that tells you everything that's in for the day. And sometimes they might know who's gone out already, because they might say, well, we had a group go out at 7 a.m. and it was 6 people. So you might say, all right, they might finish up around 9 a.m. So it could kind of help you think, like, they'll probably be coming off the climb by the time my friends want to even go out. So you can kind of gauge once you get there. And you can set up multiple ropes too, but it depends on what the climb is like. You might have a rope here, and you might have a rope on one side or the other. Or it might just be one rope, and then everybody's got to take turns.
Is this like mostly taking place in the Upper Peninsula, or all, I mean, where do you
is.
go to? It just seems kind of dangerous, you
Yeah.
know, like, have you ever been injured doing this?
Well, no, I have a slide on that, but
Oh,
I haven't.
really?
I haven't.
You ever get worried about injuries,
No.
like being out there and something happened, you know?
No, the biggest worry for me,
Like, how would you get back to the camp if you got injured, you couldn't walk, you know, I'm just,
that's when you do have to use your rescue insurance. That's where
oh, you call?
you
Okay,
call
and
through the AAC
how do they know
club.
where you're at?
Usually you carry a rescue beacon.
Oh,
So you use a rescue
Oh, okay,
beacon,
okay,
or
so you have-
if your phone has service, you use your GPS coordinates. So a lot of times you'll drop a pin on your map, and then if you want to put your phone in airplane mode, you can to save some battery, but usually use your GPS coordinates.
wow.
Or you have a rescue beacon, and that will send an emergency responder the contact information. But you can also call the AAC, and they'll pay for someone to like come with a pontoon to come get you out if you're over in like a water
And you
area.
always like with a team or a group or a
Yep.
friend, or
You're always
you
with
never go by
someone.
yourself, I guess.
No, technically you could, if you're good enough, you could rope up, and there is gear you can use to go by yourself, because let's just say you're climbing and your partner, something happens to your partner, you have to be able to get both of you out. So there is gear that will allow you to go up a rope and come down a rope by yourself. But if you're in that type of situation, one person in the group should always have that type of gear. I don't. I have a basic climbing carabiner. I don't have everything, but if you are going with friends, you try to make sure everybody has something. If it's the rescue beacon, is it a shovel? Is it a probe to see how deep the snow is? You try to make sure everybody has one piece of equipment
So
when
that's
you go
just
out.
like, I mean, it's like vertical climbing.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
not crazy, it just seems like it takes a lot of courage to do that, you know,
Yeah.
like, you know.
It would. for
And
me.
it is vertical climbing? You're going straight up? Wow.
Yes, yeah, a
That's
lot of
really
it.
something. And the image you got on the right side there,
Yeah.
it says Michigan Upper Peninsula.
Yep.
So that's why I was assuming a lot of this takes place up there, or?
Yeah, I'm focused more on this because that's what I've done in my 4 years of
Oh.
climbing, but you can go all over the world, of course.
Wow.
Even Kentucky has ice, but it might be one weekend a year. We're just lucky that we have world-class climbing up in the UP because Lake Superior has those winds that come in, and then you've
Yeah,
got the National
yeah.
Lake Shore.
Mm.
So we're lucky that all those seeps, if you ever took that sunset boat cruise up in Munising for the pictured rocks, every single stream of water you see turns into a ice climb for us in the winter. So you are right though, if let's say you're climbing this, there are videos. If you go online, there's a whole bunch of videos. Let's say you're climbing this and you're lead climbing it, so you're putting in your ice screws. There's one video of a guy who the whole thing detaches. But the crazy thing is, the whole thing detaches and it slides down a hill, and he rides the whole thing down the hill. And he was fine, not even bruised. So it is completely,
Yeah.
yes, you can get hurt. It's when you're doing stuff like this, you think about probability and risk factor. What's the probability it's gonna happen, but also, let's just say, even if it's low probability, what's the risk factor that I might end up in a hospital versus a paper cut?
Yeah.
You have to weigh both options when you do stuff like this. So this is how we get our information about what's in. And certainly if someone was climbing this a lot and it wasn't, it's like hunting. You let the little deer go so they can become big deer. You don't want to bash something that's growing. You want to make sure it's big, because when people start going on it, it is going to kind of break down what's accumulated, and then overnight more water comes in and it refreezes, but that also comes into play too. Again, you guys do not have to read this. This is a gear
Oh,
list.
that's the gear that,
Yeah, so my buddies, if you're the head guy, if you're the guy leading the trip, you're carrying all this stuff and the ice screws. Now, you don't need ice screws, because if you're just gonna go with trees, you don't need ice screws, but, actually, I'll take one out now, just to show you what it's like.
Oh.
What you do is, there's math behind everything. When you put this in, you're gonna put it in, and as you put it in, a core of ice comes out, just like our Snoopy snow cone machine. So you do this, the snow comes out, this is now in the ice. There's math and there's science to figure out what kind of ice are you putting it in. You're not gonna put it in something that looks like it's in your driveway and it's a snowman, right? It's gonna come right out. But you know what's a solid, like, blue block of ice, you put it in. Then you can clip your carabiners in. You're gonna clip this in and you're gonna run your rope through that. You still don't really wanna fall on it if you're the person setting up the thing. You're gonna go maybe every 10 feet. Don't really wanna fall on it. Once you get to the top, sometimes they will go out and tie the rope around a tree. Or then you're gonna create an anchor system, because you always want, and I won't get into this because this is the safety and you guys don't need to know everything. But with climbing, you always want a backup. So there's a whole acronym about safety, but there's also a backup. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna create 2 points of contact, then you're gonna run your rope through both of these, equalize the pressure, and that's where you're gonna run your actual rope and carabiner through, is through both of these. That in itself is like a 2-hour class you could take about how to do all that. So when you do stuff, you're not just hooked up to one thing. There's always 2 things. So even though it's dangerous, if one thing failed, even if the tree comes down, you usually have it backed up to other trees. So we're safe.
Now, you guys don't hook up to each other.
Yes, we do.
Oh, you do?
Yes. So even if you're lead climbing, there's someone on the ground holding you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh.
So for me, my biggest fear isn't the gear failing at this point. My biggest fear is you trust your partner. You don't want your partner on the ground chit-chatting with everybody, not paying attention, because what you want is even if one of those chandeliers starts to come down, just like in golf, you shout forward, you shout ice, because you want to make sure that anybody below, you shout ice if your partner knocks a huge piece of ice off. So if the ice is coming down, it's going to hit, and it's going to hit everybody. Nobody stands underneath the climber. But also, ice could just break above them. So if someone shouts ice, you don't look up. You've got your helmet on, and you just keep this way, and you let the ice go, and hopefully it doesn't hit you. But that's why your partner should have his eyes on you at all times. You really have to trust your partner. That's my biggest concern. You want to trust your partner. So out of all this gear, there's always 10 essentials for going out in the woods anyway. You want to have your long underwear. You want to have socks. You want to have a headlamp. You want to have food. You want to have your matches. If you need an emergency blanket, like the one to wrap around you, you've got that. And then you've got all your gear. So, like I said, you can rent this gear, or you can share with friends. So my first 2 years, you're renting, because this is a huge investment. So an ice screw alone, one of these is $50. Boots, these are the cheapest pair of boots, they're $300. They go up to $1,000.
Wow.
These are your cheap boots and a lot of people, if you're savvy enough, you're gonna buy used, because a lot of people who just get into it, I've been doing this for 3 years, these look perfect, I could sell these now, and if I wanna sell them for $200, I could, and then go up to $1,000 pair, which I could buy off someone else. Your crampons, you can rent, but,
Those go under the boots?
yep, so these are gonna go on like this, and you're gonna clamp them in, and there's all different kinds. So you've gotta find what works for you. So like I said, I have the 2-point, but there is something called a mono-point. You can rent both and see what you like before you even purchase anything. So 1 year you might, like my first year I bought the boots because I thought the boots are the most important thing, the boots, the helmet, and my harness. The next year you get the crampons. The 3rd year, I invested in my tools and a backpack, but I was renting all this before. You've got your climbing harness and you've got your carabiners, and this is what you're gonna run this is your belay device, and they lock. spring, some of them are spring-loaded, and then you always make sure they lock, and you always do a safety check with your partner. They're full safety checks we do, we check, did you just go to the ladies' room? Make sure this is re-snugged, this is harnessed again. You know, make sure your belt's closed all the way, that's, a lot of the climbing mistakes are easy mistakes, and that's one of them. You didn't put your belt on. Make sure you do this for your partner, they know you're clicked in. Make sure this is facing the right direction, the rope goes in, the rope goes out. And when you're using the rope, another thing is when you're holding it, I won't do too much with it, but clearly you don't wanna ever step on the rope, because then you're gonna start shredding your $150 rope. So you wanna make sure you've got a nice clean space, no debris, where the rope can flow, and then you always tie a knot in the bottom of the rope, because let's say that person did fall, and you for some reason let go, tying a knot in the bottom of the rope will prevent them from going through this system.
Just a simple overhand knot, you know,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and knots is an entirely, whole entire class as well. But what's nice, so I don't know all my knots, but you tie a figure eight when you tie in,
Oh,
everything's
yeah,
redundant.
figure eight, yeah.
So you'll do a figure eight, but then you also tie a backup stopper knot,
Oh,
and then you'd have a stopper knot, which could be an overhand knot too, down in the, or a bowline.
okay, I thought I talked about that, yeah, thanks.
Yep. And then this is specifically for ice climbing, so it's gonna hold your ice tools, so it's got these attachments that allow me to put my tool through here, and then it's got a spot for me to put the axe portion. So with the ice tools, even though what they had before, if you see a climbing movie, they had the long one with the axe that came out. Those were called ice axes. The point of them is to put it in the ground so you can see if you're gonna break through and go into a crevasse, and those were about 42 high, so you could walk with them. But then if you fell, you solve for rest. If you start going down a mountain, you throw your body on this, and then this is gonna dig in, and you're gonna put your crampons in, and you're gonna dig in, and that's gonna stop you from falling down the mountain. Now, don't have to worry about that too much in Michigan. We don't have too many mountains, but that's something you would do if you were mountaineering or climbing maybe out west in Colorado. And I'll talk a little bit about Colorado. But around here we go to Ontario. There's some places to climb in Kentucky. There's one place in Indiana, and then maybe one place in Ohio.
Which one's your favorite?
Well, I like the picture rocks. I'll show you some videos in a minute.
Which state? Michigan, Colorado?
I've only climbed in Canada, like northern Canada and here, but I like everything Great Lakes. I think the Great
yeah.
Lakes just gives way too much.
Keep it pure Michigan, huh?
So we get some great ice.
Pure Michigan.
So around 1969, they switched to this type of ice tool, a different type of crampon, and an ice tool because those were just straight. How are you gonna get over those humps? This is why it's curved. So when you swing in, and we can get to that in a minute.
So you hit that in and then you pull yourself up
Yep.
like with that?
Yep.
Wow.
So this is gonna be sharp, so this is brand new, so it's really sharp, so.
This is like major thrill seeking, like on a major level, you know, like.
But you can do it
You
in
know.
Fenton, it's like 20 minutes from here, so anybody who wants to, come next weekend when it starts snowing, you guys can come out to
This is like your
Fenton.
favorite season coming up, then it
Yes.
has to be.
It's
What month is like the best for this, like December?
January, February.
January,
And in
February?
the UP, they'll climb, you can climb till April or May in the UP.
Oh.
We were climbing till, at the end of April last year, I think, the end of March and April.
This is my thrill seeking here, I enjoy the presentation.
Yeah.
This is what I like, so this is
You
the
know,
full
you're not gonna
extent
be
for
there?
me. I enjoy this, so this is my thrill seeking right here.
I guess I could go through, I'll go quickly through the other stuff I have in here, just real quick. You don't go near a hill without your helmet. You don't even walk up to the ice climb without your helmet.
Right, especially if people are yelling, "Oi!"
Yep,
That ice is pretty hard, huh?
yes.
It's like hitting concrete if you come down.
It is, I accidentally took a bottle out of my car and it was frozen, and the bottle just touched my car and I have a dent in my car right now.
Wow.
Because my water bottle hit
That's
the car.
crazy, wow.
You're gonna wanna have either really nice pants, I don't, I have $9 pants from Dick's Sporting Goods that you're gonna, cause what's gonna happen is you're gonna end up cutting your pants too. When you kick in, you're gonna shred your pants. So I don't have $600 pants, I have $9 pants. So then I put these gaiters on, which people use for snowshoeing too. you're just gonna put this over the boot, and it goes on. And then that way you don't have to worry about your laces, you don't have to worry about tripping,
Oh, yeah.
and then you don't have to worry about your crampons kicking your really cheap pair of snow pants you bought 10 years ago. You're gonna have several pair of gloves. It's a huge debate. There's not one glove that'll do everything. So if it's 30 below and there's water coming down, lots of times there's water coming down on the ice and you're getting sprayed on, you're gonna want a waterproof glove. But if it's a nice sunny day, oh, these are my snow pants. I probably should let these air out for the summer. These are my $9 snow pants.
Oh, they look like they're at least $50.
Where'd you get your $9 snow pants at?
Dick's Sporting Goods on the clearance rack.
Okay, then, yeah, absolutely, okay, that sounds very, sane.
Lots of bags for leave no trace. Leave no trace, take all your garbage with you.
You're a pretty good bargain shopper.
Well,
I
yeah,
can't find pants for $9.
It's just as good as what you see up there, I mean.
I was gonna
like,
say, you
yeah.
have to offset
better than me.
these tools are $300 a piece.
Wow.
So that's why, and the bag is $150, I think, but I buy everything on sale, I buy everything with a discount. When you join the American Alpine Club, you get a discount on all stuff. And when you go to the store in town, Downland Sports, you get a discount for shopping during Ice Fest. So I have another pair, I have just fleece gloves for like a warm day. You're gonna wear just plain fleece gloves. They're in there too, but actually, no, just a bunch of other ropes. You're gonna need a bunch of other ropes too, because you never approach, and then these are actually leashes.
Are those ropes color coded, by the way, curious?
I was gonna ask the same question.
You purchase what you want, so I color coded them based on what I would remember. So like this is gonna be my backup. So this is my, if you're rappelling in, if you're gonna rappel in, you can put a stopper knot on the rope. So what happens is you're rappelling in, but you would tie this as a stopper knot, and then as you're going down, you slide it down.
Uh-huh.
And that way, if you were to pass out for any reason, something hits you in the head and you pass out, no one's gonna catch you, this would actually catch you.
Oh,
You're gonna
yeah,
have this.
alright.
So we call this a prussix, and it's all like French alpine climbing terms. I haven't learned all of them yet, but you would tie it in such a fashion that it becomes a prussix, and so as you're going down, like James Bond, jumping down, you slide that down too.
Good idea to talk about that, so we all know that you're always thinking safety,
Always.
all the time.
Always backups. This is, if, let's say I'm belaying, I'm however many pounds, let's say 80, I'm not. But let's say I'm belaying my partner who's 300. Well, if he comes down, I'm going up. So you actually would take this and you would tie into something like a tree, or at the Peabody's Ice Climbing, which is a facility in Fenton, he actually has poles. So if you're tinier than your partner, you tie in. If your partner starts to come down, you're actually locked into something else. So there's lots of ways you can still keep climbing. It's another one. And then these are actually the leashes, because you saw when we were looking at the water. If you're climbing over Lake Superior and you're gonna accidentally drop your tool, these are cheap. You can get them for $150, you can get them for $300, you can get them for $600 a piece. If you're climbing with a $600, $1,200 in each hand, you wanna drop that into Lake Superior, there's kayakers and wetsuit divers who will go down and get it in the summer and resell it. So you use the leashes and they attach to your harness, and then that way they're clipped in. Now, you don't normally use that because it would get in the way. You don't want a whole lot of stuff that'll get in your way. But if you're over the water and you're afraid of losing a tool, or if you're in the backwoods and you're afraid of losing a tool, you're gonna use these leashes. See where I put mine. Food, you're gonna wanna take anything that's gonna give you the max amount of calories. Pasties were developed because I think the miners used to take them into the
Is
caves.
that you in the picture?
Yeah, that's actually me.
Oh, it is? With all your gear on? Okay.
Yeah, so I look crazy puffy in all my gear. Yeah, so that's my belay parka. So you're gonna wear maybe a more slim-fitted coat for actually climbing, but if you're the person holding the rope, it gets cold quick. So that's a belay parka. That is my $10 clearance Gap coat from 20 years ago when I went to Michigan State. And yeah, so that's my $10 Gap coat that works wonders. So if I, sometimes if you're walking and you wanna put your tool over, you're gonna
Oh,
shred,
yeah.
you're gonna shred your outfit too, so.
You start leaking others.
If you're gonna be out doing some hardcore stuff, it pays to have $600 items, but for what I'm doing in Michigan, I'll spend the $10 and when it shreds, I'll get something new.
Now, have you tried that chicken teriyaki? Is that pretty good?
I haven't used the chicken teriyaki, I've used the curried vegetable one,
Oh.
and they are good. They're just as good as a Lipton, if you
You
make
gotta warm them
Lipton,
up or anything, or just out of the bag, you just eat it?
you
like
eat it
that?
out of the bag.
So there's no fire or nothing for it? I mean, you don't
You
cook it?
put, no, it's like eating a Lipton chicken rice
So it's
dinner,
like military food,
Yeah.
kinda like the.
Yeah. like a meal ration, yeah.
Is it warm?
Yeah, because you boil the water in the jet boil.
Oh, okay, okay. I
And then
see.
what we also do is you take the packaging, if you ever bought like Omaha steaks or you bought food and it comes in a foil bubble wrap, you can take those foil bubble wraps and you can make a pattern and make like a koozie.
Yeah.
And you make a koozie for this, so it's just, I should have brought one. It's like a foil koozie, you put the pouch in, that way you can hold it and that way it holds the heat in too. And then you pour the hot water and you seal it back up.
Can you elaborate just a bit on the jet boil? I mean, what is, that kinda interests me. What does that do?
Yep, so a jet boil is, this is your fuel right here.
The
So-
propane?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, so I was gonna bring one, but I didn't wanna carry too much stuff. So you have your jet boil, which holds about 16 ounces of water, that's how you're gonna
Okay.
make your coffee or just boil water.
Okay.
And then you put your fuel in at the bottom, and then you just turn it on, and it has an Insta-Hot, so actually will boil water in like a minute.
How many times how much coffee can you make from one of those?
I
Like
think
if you're out outdooring or whatever,
Yeah,
you know, how much, one cup of coffee,
I
can you
think
use it
that's
day after day?
oh
Or is
yeah,
it just one time?
no, you're gonna use this for the whole weekend. and
Oh,
if
you can
need
use
to-
it for a whole weekend?
Yeah,
And that
if you need-
propane will last an entire weekend?
Yeah, depends on how much you're doing, because when I've done like winter backpacking, maybe one person's carrying the fuel, but you might have extra of these too.
Oh. Where do you pick that up at? Where do you get
Oh,
one?
REI, Dick's Sporting
Oh, that's pretty
Goods.
neat. It's called jet boil.
Yep,
Okay.
so that's a name brand jet boil, you
Pretty
can
neat.
get
What's
any,
something like that cost about?
well, for this one, it's $100 to get an Insta-Hot.
Wow.
But you can go to Kohl's and get like a Coleman for maybe $50.
Really?
Yep. Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that works even for like a tailgating, a backyard, anything, even if you just wanna go to the park and meet friends. That totally work for that. In the deep winter, you're gonna wanna use white gas, because it's just like lithium batteries, so if you use your headlamp too, a lithium battery is gonna last longer if it's 30 below compared to just plain propane. So you need to kinda keep that warm, unless you've got white
Lithium
gas.
battery, now, how does that relate to the jet boil?
Headlamps. So like a lithium battery, if you have your headlamp,
Oh, the headlamp.
in -30, your headlamp's gonna go dead.
Ah,
So you gotta use a lithium battery for that.
lithium's better in the cold?
Yes,
Oh,
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Learned something new.
yeah, and a white gas canister, which I don't have any white gas, but a white gas canister is gonna last longer in the winter because this is gonna freeze.
I don't get it. Now, white gas, what do you mean?
I don't know, it's either propane or white gas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just the other, whatever, another type of fuel.
Yeah, you gotta consider the temperature. It gets cold out there. What temperature, what's a
Negative-
normal temperature for
negative
what you're
30.
doing? -30?
Yep, we hit the trail at 7 AM, it's -30.
Ain't that cause frostbite or anything?
Yep, that's why we have these, this is probably $150 glove.
That stops the frostbite and all that? Okay.
Well, you use a glove liner, that's the other thing,
Oh,
liners.
okay.
Sock liner, long underwear, hat liner for the ladies too, will also keep this thing from ripping your hair out, cause there's a lot of little gadgets in here, so you put a hat liner on. And then you use glove liners too under this, cause there's no getting around frostbite. It's unsolvable.
You guys sleeping in tents out
Yes.
there? You are?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you heat up the tent when you're in those kind of temperatures?
Well, you don't heat up the tent, you gotta do a lot of jumping jacks before you go to bed.
30 below?
Yeah,
You
cause
better
once
do
you get
more
in
than
the
jumping
tent,
jacks.
once you get in the tent's gonna keep you at mostly 25 degrees.
Oh, it will, okay.
Once you get in.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
But you do still sleep with your hat on, your long underwear, your
And you
socks.
And you stay warm enough
Yep.
to where,
And you made me think of something else too. If I did have my fleece gloves on me and I was flipping around, doing something else, you put them in your pocket to keep them warm so they don't freeze, and also if they were a little Guys say that if their gloves get a little wet, then you put them here, and that way they're warm. When it's your time to go, you're ready to go. 'Cause you can just-
You ever heard of the hot hands?
Yeah,
Just kind of
yes,
burn,
we
then
use
they get-
those.
they get
You
warm.
can use the hot hands on your
Yeah.
toes too, yep.
Yeah, those are
Mhm.
cool.
I put one in my sports bra, because technically if you put something close to your heart, if it's a hot day and you put a cold pack right here, it's gonna heat all the blood coming back to your heart, and then it returns it to the rest of your body.
Wow.
So on a hot day, I put ice right here in my sports bra. On the cold days, I put my hot pack right
So
here.
it's close to your heart, that
Yep.
helps, oh,
And
interesting.
it keeps you, this is the only part of me that actually gets cold, because look, there's no skin right here.
Very interesting,
Plus all the blood's coming through here.
yeah.
So your body doesn't have to work as hard. But another thing to note is if you're gonna bring food out like this is gonna freeze too. So you're biting into it, you're gonna lose a tooth. You gotta make sure that when you
Does the
bring
peanut butter
something.
freeze?
Oh yeah, everything will.
Peanut butter, everything, huh?
If it's that cold, yeah. So you want to make everything, like if you're gonna bring summer sausage, bring little cubes of summer sausage and little cubes of cheese. Don't bring out a huge thing, because you're never gonna be able to cut that. So. I mentioned that Munising has download sports. You can do the rental. They do classes all year. They also do rock climbing, all kinds of classes. They have presentations. So the Ice Fest, this is actually their 30th year of the Ice Fest. We missed it because of COVID. So the 30th year is this year. It's going to be a huge party. It's world-class climbing. There's people from all over the world. So Conrad Anker, he's one of the most well-known names in climbing. He was in that National Parks video I was talking about. He summited Everest 3 times. He now comes around. He's in his, I think he's 56 now. He comes around and actually does the circuit and helps teach classes. So if you take Intro to Ice Climbing, you could have Conrad Anker, one of the most well-known names in ice climbing, teaching you. They have the gear rental, and if you sign up for a class, all the gear rentals included, including gloves and jackets, so you can try out all the latest gear. If you want a $600 jacket, why not try it out for free during the event? Live music every night, Northern Lights. They've been going off like crazy every day since September 1st in the UP. The Northern Lights have been going crazy. You get to meet new friends. And then I put this in here just as a caveat because some people are a little uncomfortable. I've never had an issue being out, being the only girl in a group of men, but there are women-only clinics too. If you feel more comfortable being with just women, there's pure women-only clinics too, where if you're gonna go, spend 10 hours learning something in the back country, maybe you wanna go with 8 women instead of whatever. Cause you are using the, restroom in the woods. So I'm gonna play this video real quick. I'm gonna talk during the video. I think if I can do this correctly, Tim, I think I can just pop up the
Yeah, just click on the link in
browser. Oh, did you want me to click on the
the.
link?
Yeah, it'll pull up a page in the browser for you. Or do a control click. There you go.
I'll just leave it at this size. I don't think I need to, should I make it big or?
Up to you.
Hopefully I don't screw this up. So that's us going out at 7 in the morning. If you're going really far out, you might need to take skis to get out there. Or some people will camp right there, so they're ready to go the next morning. That's what I'm gonna attempt this year, is climbing right on the ice. Right on
From
the
the
water.
top,
On the
you
water.
stay up on the top, you go back up to the top.
Yeah, and usually sometimes the person holding you is at the top, they're not always on the
Okay.
bottom.
Yeah.
So this person's talented, they can put their crampons on while standing, I can't do that, I'll fall over.
What's that abseil distance? Like 150 feet or something?
About 150, yeah, on the
The
island
water
we
would be
did,
kinda cold, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, we did a climb on Grand Island that was 175 feet, but I think most times are about 150. So we call that pancake ice. When you see those round sheets in the water, that's pancake ice. So you're climbing over pancake ice. This is the commercial for the festival.
That would be a really hardcore place to fall into Lake Superior.
It'd be kinda chilly, but, you could probably live.
A little bit of a swim back.
That's it.
snowshoes up, you gotta have bigger ones in here. If you're going to a golf course here, you use your little ones. Up north, you're using your big snowshoes.
Yeah, and the lake effect snowpack there's has to be amazing.
You're up to your waist sometimes, yeah. My rope isn't neat, but usually everything's tied real neat and nice and packed perfectly. Yeah, the photos just don't do it justice, that's why I wanted you to see.
Well,
the video.
you're actually stepping on like, shelves.
Yes.
Shelf.
Yes,
Like
exactly. So once you get on top of a shelf, you can kind of rest, take a rest. That's where if you want to take a photograph, you can pull your phone out and take a photograph,
Oh,
because you know
yeah.
you're solid.
And this is the shore of Lake Superior?
Yes,
This is the shore of Lake Superior?
yes.
It was on the news because a whole bunch of it fell down.
Yes,
And so that's a natural thing to happen, it'll
Yep.
fall down in bunches
yeah, and
every once in a while.
you'll see where, so last winter I did that, it was my first snowmobile ride, we went out to Grand Island. We had to rappel in 175 feet to do our climb.
Oh, boy, yeah, all right.
Yeah, they have a lot of avalanches because that's all sand. That's
Okay,
actually,
yeah.
you can't even rock climb there because it's not really rock, it's sand.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of like where we were climbing last winter. You'll see pictures of it, but it won't, even the video's way better than any picture. And then the sun goes down and you're still heading back in. I mean, it's pretty amazing. But that's what I'm looking forward to this winter, is hopefully getting on a climb like
Okay,
that.
yeah. Oops,
You
yeah.
can see the rock fall.
That's pancake ice, they had that on TV.
Yeah.
The ice will form that like a pancake.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really good.
What's the rust color from? What causes
That's the
that?
minerals. That's all the
minerals.
tannins in the water. If you go to Tequamanon, there's
Wow.
tannins in the water, so that's all your minerals.
That's from the leaves of the trees.
Yep.
Wow. Very interesting.
It's called tea, they're like, it's the same thing as tea.
Oh,
But some,
okay.
tea makes it dark,
Did I not?
or,
Oh, I think it's probably auto playing in the background.
You got a lot of cool stuff in Michigan, huh?
oh,
It's a
yeah.
great place to live. Huh?
Great place to live, yeah, so far.
Just gotta get out and see it. I'm a hermit, but I just gotta get out and see this stuff. Michigan's got some beautiful sceneries and stuff,
That's
know,
kind of why I'm.
especially up in the UP.
Yeah,
Man,
UP is amazing. It's
But
like
you go
a different
partway
state.
up to by Boyd Mountain,
yeah.
and Boyd Mountain will maybe have places to climb up like we're seeing, maybe.
Oh, really?
Asker, maybe, and.
That's like skiing,
up
yeah,
there.
Boy Mountain is skiing,
And
yeah.
it's cold, it's cold. Oh, is that like a man-made icicle there?
Okay, yes.
Well, they used to have one along Woodward Avenue in Palmer Park.
What? They
They
do?
used to have an icicle like that along Woodward
They have
Avenue.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Palmer Park.
Uh-uh.
Oh,
I
and
never
there
seen
was
it.
pipe and
It would
Yeah.
get like
spray.
maybe as high as those
It would be-
flags.
Yeah.
Massive.
We joke, because if you have like a trickle on the side of your house, people will post, something coming out of your gutter and everyone's like, can't wait to climb it. So Peabody Ice Climbing, if anyone remembers Peabody's restaurant in Birmingham, it was on Woodward.
Yeah.
It closed, it's now a parking garage. But the Peabody family also had an apple orchard in Fenton.
Oh,
So right down the road from here is Peabody Ice Climbing. So Garrett Peabody, who's a world traveler, went out and got telephone poles and he put webbing up, like webbing and fencing. And then he has a snow blower. He got a retired snow blower from one of the ski resorts. And every hour on the hour in the winter, he goes out there and he moves the snow blower around. So he sprays all this every night.
oh, water, all right.
Any night where it's cold enough to, he sprays that. So then he puts the ropes in too. We have 8 lines on this thing. You can see that what this side is gonna be slightly easier because you're doing this. This side is gonna be slightly harder because now you're trying to climb up the back side of it. So you've gotta be stronger to do the other side. It might be more technical, Sometimes we miss pieces, especially since this is man-made, this chunk might get taken out. You gotta get creative of how you get over these dead spots, then you've got these huge cauliflowers.
Oh, that's man-made, okay. I
Yeah.
see. So they,
All
how do you
man-made.
make, how would they make something like that?
Snow blowers.
Snow blowers?
Yeah.
Snow blowers?
So he moves it around all night long, the moon's out, it's just
Oh,
gorgeous
okay, I
climbing,
see.
he has huge spotlights, just like a ski
And
resort.
then they
would.
climb that?
Yeah, that's
and
what, that's where you learn, yep.
Oh.
People from all
That ice
over.
is hard enough to climb after you do that?
It is, it's gonna be a little bit different than the ice that's coming out of the waterfall, it is. It's a little bit more, you're gonna see more of those air bubbles in it. You are gonna see a little bit more of that, but you still get good days where it depends on how much it melted one day, then how much it froze and how cold it was the next day. That will depend on the density of the ice. So what we call, once you have a day where you can throw your tool in and it goes right in, it sticks right away, we call that hero ice. There's days where if it's just solid ice and you hit it in what we call dinner plate, it's called dinner plating, the whole chunk will come out at you because it's so brittle, you just knocked a circular wedge off. Or you could knock a whole cauliflower down so you can see it fracture as you're hitting it, and that's when you would say, as a good person, you would go, okay, this whole chunk's gonna come off. I'm gonna shout ice, you say ice, and then you knock it down. You say, I'm knocking this piece off, because you know the next person could hit it and it could come and hit them in the head. When you do swing, we'll get to technique in a minute, so I won't talk about that right now. But there are 8 lines, and you go, you rent. I don't know if he even makes money off this, because you can go rent for the day for like $20 and climb for $20. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And he also has beginner classes. He has like tree clinics, like how to tie your anchors, anchoring clinics. He has lead climbing clinics. He has self-rescue clinics, all kinds of things year round. So it's not just during the winter. You're gonna learn your climbing stuff during the summer too. He has a bunkhouse, so if you're hardy and you don't mind sleeping in a bunkhouse with other people, because a lot of students from Indiana and Ohio climbing clubs come up on the weekends just to climb for the day. And then maybe they're planning on going out to other areas, but in Michigan, this is gonna be your climbing destination for learning. So I was joking earlier, you get to the top, and a lot of times you don't even look. So when you get to this top, especially on a day like this, it's just beautiful. You've got the moon out, you can see over all the trees, but you always forget to look and you're exhausted. Your arms feel like you're gonna drop your tools, but if you look down, that's your belayer right there. So that's what it looks like from the top. You look down and you're like, can they even hear me up here? Like it is, but sometimes you forget to look. So at night, it's just beautiful. This is the shorter wall. This is about a 45-foot wall and a 72-foot wall. And then there's cowbells at the top, so when someone gets to the top, you ring the cowbell and everybody cheers. If it's a new person, everybody cheers them on and helps. And you can also climb the interior of this as well. It's gonna be a little bit harder, but then we have bonfires and parties and DJs and food trucks.
Oh, wow.
So there's
Is that a
things.
crane that we're looking at?
Yes.
That orange?
Did you say they have DJs?
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
really?
we had a party going on right there.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and this crane is holding up the structure as well, just another point of
Oh,
contact.
it's
Because it is
holding-
a telephone pole that's like, I don't know, 30 feet in the ground or something.
Yeah.
But you also have a crane holding everything up as well.
Oh, yeah, all right then, okay.
So
Oh, you got a crane there?
How
Well, they
long
bring in a
does
crane?
it take for you, with like, to climb like the tallest one? Is that
So-
like a 2-hour adventure? Is that?
That's a cute,
Yeah.
that's a cute question.
Yeah.
There's a lady, Cindy, who's been climbing for 30 years, I think, and she's about this big, and her tools, I call them pixie sticks, because her tools are like 2 ounces. I time her, she gets up that in 8 minutes. She beats all the guys. I mean, she is just
I
like a
used to
little
climb
fairy.
trees when I was a young kid, climbing trees was fun,
Yeah,
and climbing ice would be different. I haven't tried it yet, but I've been active in the wintertime
Yeah.
and skiing and sledding and stuff.
yeah.
And everything, okay, yeah, so it's something you gotta get to.
Anybody, I'm telling you, anybody can do this. If you can't do the tall wall, which took me 2 years to get up the tall wall, but
Wow.
if you can't do the tall wall, this wall, you're gonna get up the first time, and there's days where, when this gets pocketed out from people climbing so much, you don't even need tools, you could use your hands and kind
Yeah, I was
of.
gonna say, so many people there, they're
Yeah.
gonna leave it.
You can leave a divot, yeah, so at some point,
Yeah, divot.
that's where people get creative and they go, okay, well, this is kind of pocketed out, but I'm gonna go up this side. You just tell your person who's belaying you, I'm gonna ride this side. And then there's a little post right here, and that's where you would clip into if your partner's heavier than you. And then the ropes stay fixed, so you just clip in, we all stand in line. Not long, it's about maybe 10 minutes for this if you're going slow, and then 20 minutes for that. But a lot of people, you just go halfway up. If you go halfway up and you hit this cauliflower and you can't figure out how to get around it, you just say, okay, I'm done, you come back down. But you can hang out all day, you can hang out an hour, doesn't matter what you wanna do. It's like hiking, they could say hike your own hike.
And
It's fun.
how many people altogether go to these events? Yeah, I see maybe three,
That's usually what it looks like. There's not
about
usually
6, 7 people?
in line for that route,
Oh,
route,
but there,
yeah.
okay,
So
there's
then
other
this-
people, okay.
This line would have a little bit of a line there, and on the other, so you can climb on the other side of this, and that one
So
has
he just has those two, those two that's all he's got out there, right?
2 on this side, 2 on the other side, 1 on the interior, and then
Now,
1,
when
2,
you're
3.
climbing like that, is it like doing a pull-up kinda, or is it easier than, because it looks like it'd be kinda
No.
hard.
You actually are. I just started working with a trainer because some of the boys who are like 25 years old and they've got that strength,
Yeah.
if you get to a spot like this where are you gonna put your foot? That's mesh right there. There's no snow.
Wow.
So you've gotta come put your ice tool here, ice tool here. Well, if, you know, you're me, I'm gonna say, what could I do? Could I stem my feet out to get over this hump? Well, the boys who are strong can just go like that, and then I'm like, how did they do that? But they'll just, yeah, they can literally just pull themselves up. So,
Okay, yeah.
it's both though, it's arm and leg strength. So that's a class we took, that's how to build, anchor systems. You can see there's 2 knots there, there's always 2 knots. And we're just building anchoring systems right outside the front door of the building. We're not even building them on a tree, we're using the fencing to build. At night, that's at the top, I took a selfie in the moon in the background. This is at the top here, and that's the cowbell that you hit.
Oh, you hit we're all done? You hit the bell?
Hit the bell with your tool, and then everybody cheers, especially if you're a first timer. Or if it's your first time on the tall tower, I mean,
That's cool.
because, well, there's another thing too, if you need a break, you call it a take, you say, give me a take, and the person holds you. So they'll kind of bunker down, and you can kind of catch your breath, because when you're doing this, and especially if you're not using the right technique, you're gonna, we call it being pumped out, you're gonna pump out. All your blood is like this, you're just exhausted. So you might need to take a second, catch your breath, and then you might wanna come back down, but if you've got a buddy watching you, they go, no, take 2 minutes, regroup, you can still do it.
Is it okay if I took a picture? You don't mind?
Of course,
Okay,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I just wanna make
absolutely.
sure. And is he putting that on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Everything will be on YouTube later
Oh,
on.
that's pretty neat. Okay.
So you're wondering how many ice falls, what can you climb? Well, this is it. I can even
Oh.
zoom in on all of it. And these aren't my pictures, this is one of my guides, that's Emily, she's a guide for, Downwind Sports, so that's her climbing on the water. But these are all the things you can hit. So you can imagine, these ones are gonna have more people on them. These ones, you've gotta get up at 6 a.m. and get on the trail, and if you're walking out there, you're
Oh.
walking at 6 a.m. to get out.
What shoreline are we looking at here?
That's Pictured Rock, so that's Munising right
Oh.
there. That's where the boat leaves, that's Grand Island.
Oh, yeah,
So you
okay.
can either walk across this, you can ski
Oh,
up
that's
through
an
here.
island there, all right.
People ski all from, you park your car here, you ski all the way here. You can take a snowmobile, we climbed this winter. We took a snowmobile and it felt like it took 3 days to get there. I mean, we just took a snowmobile like right there and it
Mhm.
just felt like forever. You climb all this.
Okay.
And then, this is just going over the bridge. I've read this statistic that only 11% of Michiganders go into the UP, so not a lot of people go. So going over the bridge, you've got, this year we had those huge chunks of ice, the blue ice, it comes up like huge chunks, and if you've got your crampons on, you want them, or your yak tracks, because you're gonna fall. So that's me standing right on, looking at the water below, must have been about that thick.
Wow.
But I was slipping around in those boots, like I shouldn't even have been walking on it in that.
So that clear ice there on the left, are you in like the Straits of Mackinac there, or is that up in?
I'm standing like right there, yeah.
Okay.
You
Right,
sure
right.
got a lot of courage
Oh,
to
so
do
that's
that.
just over
Do you ever go all the way across the straits on the ice?
I would love to. Nowadays, people take their fat tire bikes because they snowmobile to Mackinac
Oh,
Island.
yeah, oh,
But nowadays, you can fat tire bike to Mackinac Island.
oh my gosh.
That would be fun.
Oh, Mackinac Island, from St. Nicholas, there's a
Yeah.
way to get there, yeah,
Yeah.
because they put trees,
Yes,
old Christmas trees
Yeah.
along the way so you can see the way.
bridge.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hard pass.
Well, yeah, because
Is that
it's
you that took
shallower
the picture?
water there that
Huh?
freezes.
Is that you too?
Yeah, that's me snowshoeing.
All right.
Oh,
So
I
then
like the
once-
shades, purple content, that's kinda cool.
Once you get up there, a lot of the engineers I was climbing with, they're 25, they're done climbing at 7 o'clock, they're like, oh, we're driving home. No, I'm not driving home, I'm going back to the hot tub, I'm gonna relax, I got up the next day.
You guys got a hot tub too?
Well,
A
well,
DJ, a hot tub?
I'm
Hey.
in a hotel, the
This
boys
is
slept in,
nice.
the boys slept in the Subaru, I was in a hotel.
They got a live DJ, a hot tub? Hey, I wanna go.
Yeah,
No, that picture,
after
Theresa,
my night,
I was just gonna ask you real quick, that picture at the top right, is that from west of Munising?
Tearing them.
yeah, that's looking out onto the,
Oh, it is?
It's Mackinac Island there, right? I'm just guessing.
well, that's climbing, that's like looking out, no, that's Munising.
Yeah, cause that's the overlook part, isn't it? Just to the west, yeah, I recognized it.
I never did that, okay.
I would.
Yeah, so you've got, specific, ski trails, specific snowshoeing trails that you can do. So my next day, I just went out, it was gorgeous like this, everybody went home, and I was snowshoeing, and I came across some people from Peabody's here in Fenton. They just randomly walked out of the trees, and I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, oh, our trip to New Hampshire got canceled, so we came up here. We're the only 2 people in the entire woods, it was like a Monday.
I just stay here. I
Oh,
love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So this is more solitude, I'm kind of enjoying this one.
We got something in common.
Are people climbing up a waterfall there in the middle?
No, so this is actually, Miners Falls, so this is gonna be closer to the visitor center.
Oh,
This has actually been closed, and I include a picture of this at the end too. It's been closed for climbing for many years.
oh,
Last year during Ice Fest, the DNR opened it up, but under the guise that they had people looking, because what happens is there's ethical things to climbing. If you've got some jerks who just start throwing this stuff around trees, you're taking trees down, you're destroying
yeah.
you're destroying a lot of stuff. So this is one that they only opened, and if you were lucky enough, you got to climb on it 2 years ago. But that was just so the DNR could see what would the impact be, and they watched people all
Okay,
day
yeah,
to
yeah,
see if
yeah.
they wanted to open it or not to climbing. Now, when I was there, there's water coming down behind it. So a lot of times when you're climbing, you've got, even though you're climbing on ice and it could be that thick, you've got water coming behind it, so you hear the waterfall, and you can actually see the blue water.
Oh,
as
yeah,
you're
yeah,
climbing.
yeah, because the water keeps coming.
Yep.
Well, where it comes from, it just keeps coming.
Keeps
Where-
going, it goes into the ground, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just to show the solitude, and then you can go out on the beach. This is where a lot of people went that night to, we went there, to catch the northern lights that night. They went off for 6 hours the night we were there. So you have an app on your phone, it'll tell you when the lights are going off, and you head out there. So I went and scoped out our spot, and that's what we saw that night.
Oh, yeah.
Went off for 6 hours, and then when this is just from the back of the Holiday Inn. With my iPhone, not even a real camera. My real camera died. This is just my iPhone.
Wow.
Real camera died.
Yeah, my real camera was up there. I actually had a photography class the next night, and the next night was supposed to be the huge show. The huge show came the night before, and everybody who was part of the class the night before got this. And then I just used my cell phone to get this, but it was cool to see them because you could see them with your eyes. And then they started pulsing it, like hour 5, they just started flashing like crazy, which I've never seen before. So this, I couldn't even sleep, because I was up from like 2 to 6 a.m. and they were still going off, and I'm like, I don't even want to go to bed, this is so cool.
What causes the northern lights?
Solar flares from the sun. So what happens is the sun has a solar storm, a flare kicks out, and we know within a couple days, it's gonna hit the Earth's atmosphere. When it hits the Earth's atmosphere, that's particles from the sun that's hitting our.
Really?
It's like
Yes.
93 million.
What color, I mean, it's like a greenish color? or-
Typically, what you're gonna see with your eye is a greenish color, but they're purple, green, and red.
And you can't, I mean, forgive me for my ignorance on this, but you can only see that in the Upper Peninsula, you can't see that here?
In 1992, we could see it here, but that was before a lot of light pollution.
Oh,
So it depends on how strong the solar storm is. If you're in Iceland or in northern Canada,
yeah.
it would be right here, right above you. In northern Michigan, they're way out on the horizon because they're actually above like Iceland and Greenland.
Now, has the climate change had any effect
No.
on your sport?
No.
No?
Oh, on my sport?
Yeah, the
I don't
climate
know, because I've
change.
only been in it 3 years, so I don't know if it
Okay.
has been affected by anything.
Okay.
Yeah, November 2004, I saw the Northern Lights here in Metro Detroit.
You did?
Yeah, it was,
See, I remember
Yeah.
that I was like coming out of college, so I
Yeah.
think I missed that.
I was in
Yeah.
Utica a long time ago.
I'm
Yeah.
a home person.
I saw them up there, and look at the northeast.
Yeah.
In the northeast,
Yep.
and they flash on and off.
That's pretty cool. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
pretty neat, I never seen that before.
So this is to show you, okay, this is Canada, so I've also climbed up in Canada, but this is to show you, this is where Munising is, but there's one climb here, the blue ones are just regular rock climbing. There is one in Indiana that if Starved Rock comes in, you can go climbing down there, but it might be.
There's only one blue.
I don't know what the blue is actually. That's,
Oh.
this is someone else's map, but, usually it's the reds.
Oh, okay.
So it's really the reds that you can climb, but all this is climbing right on the east side of Lake Superior. So we've done that too.
Oh, wow.
This is another one, if you're getting into the sport, and I know I gotta wrap up.
Oh, that's by
pretty quickly.
Telluride.
Is that by Marquette? Or
What?
where's that, like, I was trying to, could you,
That's Munising.
okay, so there's, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see, okay, I see, I got it.
So I only have another 10 minutes because we're coming up on the hour, but this is Colorado. This is also man-made. Even though it's more in the wild than Garrett's is, this is actually man-made with pipes. It's free, and they have about 100 climbs that are all about 15 minutes from the parking lot. I haven't been out there yet, but a lot of the people who do Garrett's will go out and do that because you're going to be roped in, and there's guides out there too, and it's just another great learning facility. This was that trip to Ontario, so these are some of my friends. This is us going through waist-deep snow, trying to get to we didn't have our snowshoes on that day by mistake. This is me carrying, they gave me the rope to carry, because there's 2 ropes. This is just what you're gonna put around the tree, but the 70-meter rope is what you're gonna climb on. That's just what's going around the tree. So I didn't bring that. I'm not gonna carry a 70-meter rope. I did enough that day.
So is that at the ski area?
It's behind the ski area,
Behind the ski
yeah.
area?
Yeah, we were climbing behind the ski area, yeah. We actually had dinner at the ski area, I made the boys go. So once you get to the top, these are the guys holding me down there, but now you've got this spectacular view, so even though we climbed up in the middle of nowhere, now you've got this huge view. You can see it's a relatively easy climb with a lot of shelves, so you can take a lot of rests. This was another one we did where the guys did some mixed climbing. They practiced going on the rock and the ice. And then that's me in my sports bra because it was that hot out that day. That if you're working up a sweat, you can climb in yoga pants and a sports bra. This is the pictured rocks. We took a class with Garrett and he taught us how to build our ice screw anchors, our tree anchors, and that's what it looks like when you're about to go over. And the other thing to note is you don't just jump on the rope. We actually are tethered in 2 points. So you have 2 points of contact before you go down. You're gonna clip into your safety contact, then get on the rope, come over, look down, figure out what you're gonna do, then come off your safety and then go down. And that's when your person is belaying you too, and that's when you say on belay. But until you tell your person you're on belay, you're still on your safety rope. So we've got, even though this is tethered into a thicker tree up here, the tree closest to the ledge isn't always the tree you use. There could be a better tree here, and this is just your safety tree.
With everybody else doing that too, you want a tree that's really solid.
Exactly.
So going a few feet inland would be
Yep.
safer.
And we have specific ways of tying. It's the same thing with the hammock, because people bring their hammocks out, especially even camping in the summer. We have specific ways of camping with a hammock now. Use a flat rope, because you don't want to be grinding, you don't want to be doing this on a tree, you're going to saw through a tree.
Right, right.
Use something like this, you wrap it around and you make sure it's secure, and that way you're not going to take the bark off a tree.
Right, right.
This was our trip to Grand Island, so we took a snowmobile across, and this is Garrett mapping out our climb here. Right here was an avalanche. So as I was standing here using the ladies' room, all this that you see that's just brown, that all avalanched while I was standing there, and the whole ground shook. So.
In the winter time.
Yep, but look at this. I mean, it looked like you might as well have been 80 degrees that day. None of the boys brought sunscreen, so I had my sunscreen on, so everyone loved me after that. But you rappelled in 175 feet. We climb all day in this gorgeous sunshine, just stunning. This is just more of us. So when you're here, you're out of the way of any rock. If rock is going to come down, you always
Oh,
make
yeah,
sure
yeah.
you're out of the way of
Rocks
that.
coming down.
That's Garrett giving us some lessons.
That's why you wear your helmet
Always.
always, yeah.
Yep. And then that's where you could see that this was all icicles a minute ago, and then all this brown right here is all the rock that fell, because that's just sand. So as the ice accumulates, it's gonna fall. This is at the top, looking down at my belayer. If you were to go off this shelf, you would go through the ice. This is looking over Trout Bay, and that's the other side of Grand Island. you could fall through the ice there. So we only had this ice shelf to work from. That's my people right there, holding me. And then technique, I'll just go through real quick, just because we don't have any time, but you're gonna wanna take this one off. It's simple math, you're building an A-frame. Your feet are the bottom of the A, your arms are up here. Your feet are always equally distributing your weight, and you're kicking in. And when you kick in, you're kicking in on just on the perpendicular. You don't want to be cockeyed, you don't want to be like this, you want to go in, slightly drop your heel, you're going to lock yourself into place, you're not going anywhere. Then you're going to put your tools in. When you're first starting to climb, you're probably going to do this, but as you get better at it, you kind of leapfrog, so you're going to save energy that way. You're going to go one, and then kind of come up, and then place the other, and then kind of come up. So you're kind of leapfrogging instead of doing this every single time. And then if you have to, what's nice about this is you also have another grip here. So if you had to switch or you wanted to traverse, like you can't go this way, maybe you need to go that way, you can kind of choke up on it, come up, and then, you know, put your hand down here and then kind of flip yourself around too. So that's what you're doing with these. You're also pulling on a downward motion. You're not pulling like this, because if you're doing this and this thing was to come off, it's gonna go right into your face. So you put it in, you're kind of pulling your weight like this so that if something were to happen, you now look like the guy in the first picture. And you can hang all day long on these. So. This almost won one of the photo contests for the Munising Ice Fest. Now, he doesn't have his helmet on, but he is way out of range of anything that's falling. Normally, you would never do that, but that was the last climb of the day, and he was way out of range of anything. And then, so as we're leaving, we have to climb out with all this gear. You have to make sure everybody gets out. So what we did was we clipped in, and we actually did a traverse. You don't want to lose anyone down this cliff. So we actually did this traverse, and then we climbed up that section there because it was a shorter ice climb to the trees. But you do clip in and put ice screws in, and then the last person to come through, we're all clipped in together. Last person cleans. Take the ice screw out, take the ice screw out, take the ice screw out. A lot of things we do is we put crafting tape around your gear, all your carabiners. I put nail polish on all mine, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to get out, you don't know whose is whose. Throw everything on a tarp, and I go, oh, here's my 3 nail polishes, I know this tool is mine.
Good idea. Yeah, put your name on everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly.
Because everything's expensive and it's not returnable. Anything you buy that's climbing related is not returnable. So this is the best view on Grand Island. That's actually an outhouse. So it's just the back of the wood, and the other side is just a toilet. So if you use this, you're literally just facing the entire bay. And that's us climbing out, and that's the best view you can have. That's me climbing in my sports bra because it's so hot. This is one of the interior climbs, so this is gonna be closer to the parking lot. And that's my belayer up there. He's a photographer. He belayed me from up top on this one because we were running out of time. Now, what you guys can do, Mom, 2 more minutes. You're gonna get in trouble for talking. 2 minutes left. Everybody can go to the pictured rocks and go see these caves. These are the ice caves. Everyone can go to the ice caves. You do either want to have on crampons or yak tracks. Yak tracks you can get anywhere. Yak tracks are coils. I wear them to walk my dog in the subdivision. Just throw them right on over your boots. But anybody can go up to these ice caves, or you can book someone to take you out. Lake Superior Ice Cave Tours will take you out for the day.
You just walk in those.
Just walk. But people will hike, you just hike Lake Shore Trail from the parking lot. It's 10 minutes to these. And you can just keep going. You can sit there, you can bring a chair, you can watch the ice climbers, you can bring a hammock, you can just chill out, but you can go into all these little caves that you see.
That is neat.
Okay, so the ethics I kind of talked about. Leave no trace, don't leave stuff behind, don't litter, don't ruin the trees, you're not supposed to be climbing on this because it's sand, so don't start swinging into the rock because it's not rock. Parking is limited, so you can't just park your car in the street and just hike up. Your car's gonna get towed at the picture rocks. These are really my biggest injuries right now. If you're new and you're swinging, if you're doing it on an angle, you're gonna bash your little pinky. So I bashed my pinky. Boots didn't fit, took off a chunk of my heel every year. I'm still trying to figure out the boot problem, I'm still working on that. So you'll see me in,
nasty.
yeah, you'll see me in flip-flops in February for sure. And one time, I had a piece of ice. Now, you do really have to be careful because ice can come out. I always have glasses on. Some people climb without glasses on. I always have them on. People get ice in their eye. It's like having a piece of glass in your eye. My biggest thing was I got the tiniest little paper cut on my chin and I was so proud. I felt like a real ice climber then. And that's the end. The whole point of it is you go out with your friends, you have a good time, and then you come home and walk your dog because he doesn't know you did anything cool at all. He's like, where's my cookies? That's it.
What kind of dog do you have?
That is awesome.
It's a wire-haired fox terrier and he runs the house. He bullies us.
Got any sharp pictures of the, no? Okay.
No, that's it.
Oh, you're just walking along, okay.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Questions, or if you want to come look at the gear, you certainly can too. But if you have any questions about,
Oh, it's a cool looking dog.
like I said, everybody can go to Peabody's. You can even just show up and watch people climb. I didn't even know I could rent for the first half a day, and my friend goes, you know you can rent, and I was like, no, I just thought I was coming to watch you climb.
Where is Peabody's in Fenton?
Just south of the downtown area, about 5 minutes.
Oh, toward Holly?
Yep.
Between
I
Holly-
actually get off at Holly to go
between
there.
Holly and Fenton?
Yep. I get off at Holly and I go west, and then it's, about 5 minutes south of Fenton.
Right, if you want to go on a party night.
Well, yes, come. Hey, but a lot of like the men will have their wives come because some of the wives just don't climb, or maybe they'll snowshoe while the men are climbing, or vice versa. I mean, I've met a lot of guys who are not into heights, so they say, I'll come watch you, but I don't want to climb. It's fine. Nobody has to climb, but you can watch people, have a good time. So,
That's very interesting, and that was a good idea to include that about Peabody.
yeah, because it's right in our backyard. Can't beat that. So, all right. Well, I'll wrap there, and if anyone wants to come play with gear, we can play with gear for 2 more minutes.
No, it looks